call the meeting to order. For Wayne's benefit, we'll try and extend this as long as we can.
Kelvin, Jenny, and Grant, they'll work on that.
Notice he said me first. Mr. Chairman,
Hope you have a great time of your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice having you here. First thing, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval with the modified agenda item number 3 updated list.
I second it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
With that, the citizens will be heard. We have no one here. Well, we have someone here, but I don't want to. Approval of payment of bills. Do we have any bills this week?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I was just up there and it was well over $1 million, but they're not down here yet.
They're not down here yet, okay. I don't know if we can prove them, but they're not here.
Sure we
I
can.
don't know what the procedure is.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve when they get here.
Second.
Okay, we got approval of the payment of the bills and vouchers. All in favor?
Aye.
I can't vote on it until they're here, I'm sorry.
Let's just hold off.
We'll
Let's hold the vote.
hold off on that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, next thing we want to make note of is to accept the Moorhead Rotary donation of $223 to the Social Services for Children in Foster Care. I want to thank the Moorhead Rotary for their donation. Thank you very much. Okay, that will go into the annual update of the 2017 funding request. Councilman, and I see Judge Michelle Larson is here.
Good morning.
Don's not going with you this morning?
You know what? The brains of my operation is stuck in Bismarck.
Oh,
So we're just gonna, considering the interstates were closed, we're gonna let them get away with that one. You guys are just gonna have to do it the B team. That'd be me.
Hardly.
Well, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
You know, as long as I'm over here, I purposely walked over here. I want to give this guy a squeeze. Congratulations. I wish
Thank
you
you,
all the
dear.
best.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's legal or not at a board meeting, but
You're a judge.
I didn't know if there was a no hugging in board meetings rule.
Yeah.
All right. Well, even though the brains of my operation is stuck in Bismarck, he did not leave me high and dry. He sent me all the good information that I'm here to share with you folks today. I'm really happy to report to you that our drug court and our veterans court are both going strong, making a tremendous impact in terms of the people that we work with and serve. Notably, before we get into the numbers, on our veterans court, we had a team of 3 people put together by American University that came and visited us for 3 days in October. And they were here to do an evaluation of our Veterans Court program. And they met with all of our stakeholders. I mean, they spent 3 days here in Fargo-Moorhead. It was a gentleman named Kerwin Anderson. He is from American University and works in the granted programs division, specifically with the Veterans Courts. And then there was a gentleman named Greg Pinsky. He's a Veterans Court judge in the state of Montana. And then there was a gal named Carolyn. Man, I forget Carolyn's last name. But she is also a drug court team member. She is a psychologist. And so the 3 of them came and they met with our team members. And at the end, they did kind of a little debrief with Don and myself. And one of the things that they were just so blown away by was, first of all, the level of commitment by our team members. I mean, remarkable and amazing and awesome were words that they used, so that just really warms my heart, and I want to pass all that on to you folks. Additionally, relevant to our Veterans Court team, they were very impressed and amazed with the percentage of veterans on our team. They said our team has the highest percentage of actual veteran team members that they've seen on a Veterans Court. And so that also is just testament to what a really good position our Veterans Court is in. Turning to the budget numbers, you'll see our drug court is just a little bit behind funding by about $1,500. That seems to work itself out in the end, relevant to a few less tests, a few, whatever the case may be. As it relates to Veterans Court, we are a little ahead in that regard. And we just ordered our, and I'll be really excited to share them with you, our graduation thing from Veterans Court is gonna be a coin, and it's gonna be a Clay Becker Veterans Court coin, two-sided color coin, symbolic of, you know, the veterans' experience. When veterans move from phase to phase, instead of giving gift cards like we do in drug court, we're giving dog tags. And each of the dog tags has a different color silencer around the outside, and the 3 words, because it's 3 different phases, and then the coin at the end. It's courage, strength, and honor in that order for the Veterans Court. That's symbolic of each of those phases that they complete. So then when they're finished, they have the 3 dog tags, and the coin has the words courage, strength, and honor along the bottom as well. We just ordered them. We're gonna have them in time for our first Veterans Court graduation, which I'm also excited to share with you, will be late in January. So watch your inboxes for that. You should all get invitations to that, and I would personally invite you to be there and just celebrate our first Veterans Court graduation. We're hoping to make a big deal out of it, and we're hoping to get a color guard either from the VFW or the Armory or something there, and so it should really be a really cool event that's coming up late in January. Looking at our participant numbers, currently we have 18. We have a capacity for 30 in our drug court. We're a little low. We've actually been a little low all year, which is an okay problem to have. And if things go, they ebb and flow. And so I'm guessing we have several coming in. I'm guessing we'll see our numbers going back up. I'm guessing by this time next year, we should be about at max capacity. One thing that really is great to have our drug court, given the opiate issues that we have going on really in our community, in our state, and across our country, that programs like this are just very, very, that issue is illustrative of how important programs like this are, and your contribution to these programs keep them going and really do make a difference. You get notices of all of our graduations. You're invited to come. Frank, have you ever missed a graduation?
I don't know.
I don't think you have.
There may have been one that I thought of that I missed.
Maybe. I didn't notice that, though.
No.
You could just come for the cake or pizza. There is food. Either cake or pizza every time, so.
That draws me there.
Yeah,
No, I do have to comment on those, Michelle. Those are really, I mean, they're tearjerkers, I tell you, those graduations. They're great to attend. I mean, we look at the numbers, they probably think the numbers are low, but 1 is a great thing. Just 1 is a great thing already, but you got bigger numbers than that, but it's just anybody that you can get through that program and say we kept them out of jail and brought them back on the roads, really, it's just such a great program. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for your support. And we, got their kids out of foster care, and we got them employed. And I mean, if you look at the data of our graduates, 74 were employed at the time they graduated. 1 was enrolled in college as a full-time student. 36 obtained their driver's licenses while in that program. 36 others already had theirs. And that, while it doesn't sound like a big deal on paper, that is a huge deal, because many of these folks, it's been a really long time since they had a driver's license. That driver's license is their ability to be employed. That driver's license is what keeps them productive and keeps them out of trouble. I mean, the driver's license is just, and it keeps them out of trouble because they're not driving when they're not supposed to be. That losing your driver's license is a terrible cycle. Once you lose it, you can't get it back because you keep driving, and then you keep getting caught, and you keep losing it, and it's a terrible cycle. So that is just a really impressive statistic. All who were required were current on child support payments. All had been clean and sober for over a year. All completed community service projects of at least 50 hours. 1 is deceased due to pre-existing health problems. 17 have reoffended since graduation, which is a number I don't like and I don't like to share, but you know what, it is what it is. That percentage is hugely lower than what the percentage for recidivism would be had they not participated in our program. 48 were men, 27 were women, 63 Caucasian, 7 Native American, 4 Hispanic, and 1 multiracial. And so, I mean, that's how it looks on paper, but like Frank said, it looks just so amazing in real life. They are, you know, some are bigger tearjerkers than others, granted. But I brought my daughter this summer to a drug court graduation just because she was on vacation and she wasn't doing anything that day. And I said, sweetie, why don't you come watch something? And it was just really a eye-opening experience for her
I
as
think it
well.
would be
So,
for everybody. I mean, to bring our teenagers through this, you know, it is an important thing that we're doing as a community.
yeah, it puts human faces to real issues. And
You know.
so in the past, you have contributed $20,000 to our drug court and $10,000 to our veterans court. We very much so appreciate that support. As we tell you all the time, we are one of the only drug courts in the state that has local support. And that is just, that really goes a long way when we go to look for other funding, and because we do have such wonderful support. And your support really shows, we can say our community supports us because our board supports us. So thank you.
Judge Lawson, I think you should be extremely pleased with your success rate, even though you've had 17 that reoffended. You know, the numbers still show over 3 out of 4 do not reoffend.
Yep.
And if we could apply that to everybody who enters our facility next door, we wouldn't have to build the type of facilities we're building.
No, we wouldn't.
So, you know, this is one of those things where prevention is worth, you know, a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And we have the greatest team. I mean, our team is very committed, I mean, honestly, they give up their lunch hour every Wednesday, which doesn't sound like a big thing, but you know what? It's kind of a big thing, especially when you're so busy with other things and there's a dozen other things you could get done on your lunch hour. They give up their lunch hour, do our staffing, do our drug court and our veterans court. We now do our veterans court at 12:15, then we staff for our drug court, then we do our drug court at 1:15. When we just had like one drug court participant, we had them back to back. And now our numbers are up in Veterans Court. I think we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 in Veterans Court. So Veterans Court is building slow. It really is building slow, but we are, and that's one of the things that we worked with the folks from American University when we are here, is to do a better job of identifying the population we could serve and bring into our Veterans Court program. And so we really need to focus a little on that. Also, frankly, I think when we were gathering data, I think we had a larger veterans population that was criminal justice system involved just due to returning deployments. And so I think that had something to do with it as well. But we are, the graduation that's coming up in January, I'm just really excited for. And, you know, like Frank said, just to see one really makes it worth it. So we're not discouraged by our low numbers. We're just going to keep making sure that we're getting to and serving the right people, and I'm confident those numbers will build. Any other questions? Well, thank you again for having me. I think Kurt's here, he's on our Veterans Court team, so we really thank the Veterans Service Office. I mean, really in the last...
Even with Kurt helping,
Even with Kurt.
They were impressed.
I'm going to say, since Kurt has been in that office, it has just been amazing having them as an active team member at our team. And Kurt and Jen both are just amazing and phenomenal, and that really is a tremendous partnership. So we're glad he's there.
He's just glowing.
And he has a big enough head. I don't want to make
Kurt, did you want to come up front to take your bows? Or you're doing it back there.
It cost me $10.
It's LAWSON. Well, my thanks to you for your support.
Well, we should be thanking you for all the work you do.
Great work.
Thank you, and
Thank
have a
you.
happy new year.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I haven't seen you somewhere yet. You look good. See you later.
Okay, with that, we go on to the resolution accepting the 1/2 cent sales tax vote in consideration of a legislative bill supporting implementation. Mr. Burke.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair. And
Good morning.
members of the commission, and some that aren't going to be here the next meeting. One. Goodness, just one. Well, I guess This is something Commissioner Campbell suggested that we do. I think is an excellent idea, so we put together this resolution, just confirming your commitment to the approval of the sales tax and the appreciation to the voters of Clay County for passing that with in excess of 66%. I think it was 66.6 or something like that percent. And then just confirmation, we know how you folks feel, but just confirmation of the fact that you would like to see us follow through with this and move it to the state legislature for their approval. And just to refresh, not necessarily for you, but for the public, what in passing the sales tax, the first objective was to have the voters of Clay County approve the half-cent sales tax. And then secondly, it needs to be approved by the state legislature for giving the county the authority to enact that half-cent sales tax. It used to be in reverse, and I think what was happening, they were going to the state legislature asking for approval of local sales tax, and then they'd bring it back to the voters, and the voters would reject it or something along that line. I'm just assuming now, I don't know that for a fact. And so they said, why don't we reverse that? So I'd ask for your support on that.
Yes.
I just have a comment. I think this is really good that we're doing this, but also just for the public's perspective, can we give a quick timeline? I've had some questions, and I know I've talked to you, but as some businesses are planning for their next year, some questions are coming to us as to how soon can we expect this to go into
Yes.
effect?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Mojo, that's a very good comment or question, because I have had calls in regards to how do we implement the new sales tax. They feel that it's past the voters, so it should be in place. But as I stated, now we have to go to the legislature, and we are hopeful that the legislature will pass this. We're confident that it's somewhat of a rubber stamp. But if you remember, last year they did not pass a tax bill. What our legislators are telling us that this will become part of the unified tax bill and then will be passed in its entirety. And let's hope it's not at the end of the legislative session, but we don't control when they do that. And then it takes at least 90 days for the Department of Revenue to get all of their paperwork done. Now, this becomes part of the state sales tax. It's collected in the same manner with the same restrictions and through the same mechanism that the state sales tax does. So if it's later in the session, we're not probably looking for this to implement until about October 1. It would be wonderful if we could get it in earlier than that, but I think we will, and I think that's a wise observation, just as we did with the getting the message out about the sales tax that Commissioner Campbell led. I think we have to do some educating of our constituents and our businesses on the timelines for collection too. So it was a very good point you brought up.
Wayne?
And the money goes to the state and then it comes back to us. Correct.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Yeah, typically what happens is the Department of Revenue will contact all licensed vendors in the county and let them know. They'll give them advanced warning as to when they would start collecting. And Brian is correct. It looks like the soonest we're going to be able to. We were hoping that we could get it in for July, but that would mean that they'd have to pass that at the beginning of their session in order for us to do that. But October 1 is certainly something, a goal we're going to shoot for.
Well, we have met with the legislators. I think Grant was there, and I was there, and Mr. Burke was there, and we did meet with them, and hopefully that they can push it through right away at the beginning. But they don't know how it's going to work yet either. They're not there yet, so. But they're going to work on that.
Right, and as a follow-up with that, we did meet with Representative Marquardt, and then last, was it Wednesday or Thursday, that we met, Thursday, I believe, the three of us met with Senator Eakin, and then this Thursday we're meeting with Representative Lean, just so they have a comfort zone and we have a comfort zone as to how this progresses, because we know you folks want this done and done right. So.
Mr. Chair, I would move resolution 2016-56.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we will do our very best to keep you folks posted as to how this progresses and when we go down to testify on it and things along those lines, because this is, I know it's very important to all of you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I believe that we've all had a chance to look at the bills now,
Oh.
so I think we can comfortably vote on that.
Okay, all in favor of approving the bills?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We already had a motion and a second on that previously, we'll just use that. Okay, with that, we'll go on to Lieutenant Brian Green. Request for 2017 vehicle replacement proposal.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wayne, we're about 10 minutes ahead, so still doing okay.
You're looking forward to that retirement early. Well, Mr. Chair, board members, a proposal for 2017 for purchase of vehicle at the sheriff's office. We're looking at selling 8 vehicles and buying 8 new vehicles. I have the numbers and the figures in there. This year a little different. We've got, we'll be buying 4 transport vehicles, 3 Dodge Caravans and 1 larger GMC van, of course, for our transport needs, and then 2 marked squads, and then 2 unmarked squads. Basically, the total of the purchase of the vehicles comes to $266,334. We have internal funds and auction proceeds at $336,214, and then we return excessive funds to close to $70,000, $69,880.
I did have a question on the transport vehicles, now, these are to transport our prisoners back and forth?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, now, we are looking to build a new jail and not needing those vehicles, or is there a different use for those transport vehicles after 2 years?
After 2 years? Well,
Well, that's what I'm looking at for ours.
Right,
We still
yeah,
need
and
them.
we looked ahead at that. We have also, currently we have transport vehicles in our fleet, and in 2 years, them will be gone. So at that point, we'll look again and see what our needs again. Do we need another transport vehicle, or should we go back to an unmarked vehicle?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Same question. I was just wondering if it would be worth our while to, obviously, we're going to still need some transport, even after the new facility is
Yes.
done. We'll always need that, but I was wondering if this would be an exception where we'd want to look at leasing a couple of them versus, because we normally take those on, is it a 4-year turnover?
Yes, at least 4 years, unless, the mileage is shorter, then we keep them longer.
Yeah, so I just wonder, did we research that idea of?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
We did several
okay.
different times. And then,
Okay.
of course, every year you have all these leasing companies contact you and how great of a deal and all that good
Mhm.
stuff is. But the way we look at it, them vehicles, we put a lot of items into it. You're looking at your cages, your partitions, all your lights and stuff like that go into that vehicle. And then we'll leave for 2 years now to change around again. So if we can keep them for 3-4 years, it makes better sense for us to have, all that equipment already in instead of we buying that equipment again and reinstalling it. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense on the leases. Especially for transports vehicles, because it's kind of an odd vehicle, basically it is. And then the same thing with a mark squad. If you're putting all that equipment on a mark squad, there's a lot of holes done with it, there's a lot of things changed.
I guess I was thinking of you're still buying 2 and then maybe leasing 2. And on the 2 that you lease, you're probably not gonna need what's in them used afterwards anyway.
Right, we would not, maybe not need it for a transport vehicle, but we'd have an unmarked vehicle. We're not adding any vehicles to our fleet.
Right, I
We're just
understand.
replacing them and replacing with a transport instead of just an unmarked squad.
I'll move to approve the request.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion is second. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Yep, thank you for your support. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on committee reports. Let's see. Oh, we got Ms. McKay here. Are you ready to come up here?
Oh, sure.
Or do you have to do your hair yet and do some exchange?
Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys are fast. Merry day after Christmas, or two.
Yes. Okay, we're looking at to fill a vacated position for public health nurse in juvenile detention.
Yes, we have a nurse that has been over in the juvenile detention. You know, we provide the full-time public health nurse over there to provide health services, and this nurse now had been interested in the lead RN position in detox. So she has accepted the lead RN position. So she'll be moving over to our detox facility, and so we will have a vacant RN position in the juvenile detention center that we need to fill. They're required to have a nurse to provide the wellness exams and medical services, nursing services.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move to approve Kathy's request.
Do you need a backfill?
No, because she'll be moving to detox, so we'll just need to fill the, yeah, thanks for asking, but no.
Okay, we got a motion, and we need a second on that.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Do we have something on the detox policy review, or was that the consent agenda, or?
Right,
Yes,
that was on
consent.
the.
Well, that was consent,
That was
excuse me.
There was just
I
a
moved
couple-
that down too far, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, did you want discussion on that, or?
Nope, I just headed in the wrong place here,
All
sorry.
right, thank you.
Maybe Commissioner Wayland or
What?
Commissioner Ingersoll does.
What?
Did you want to discuss that?
Did you want further
Yeah.
discussion on this?
Okay. All right, Wayne, you want to do a committee report?
Me, or, would you,
Oh,
what did you call it?
I was gonna say Grant, but I said Wayne.
I know, I did that earlier.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He's better looking.
I don't know about that. I think Brian already mentioned, we met with Senator Eakin last week about the legislative process to get our half-cent sales tax approved, and I think that will go well, and just fine. We may have to make some trips to the cities when we get closer to that, but I guess we'll deal with that when that happens. I attended the jail design meeting with staff, and Kevin and I were both there last week, and they had staff from both the police department and the sheriff's office discussing, the topic last week was pretty much about evidence storage and how they're going to handle that in the new law enforcement center. And I'm sure Kevin agrees it was very impressive. Both staff from the police and the sheriff's office were concerned about containing the costs of the new building and making sure everything was done that was necessary, but also done financially in a reasonable manner. So that was pretty impressive. Let's see. Frank and I had a personnel issues committee meeting last week, and we had a couple issues there about storm closings and that type of thing, and I think we got those resolved. So that was it for me.
Okay, Wayne?
Tuesday, December 20th, Local Advisory Council of Adult Mental Health, General Business, Consumer Concerns, and then agency reports, and then a presentation by Lakeland Mental Health on the Minnesota State Community Support Program grant and how it is used. Quite an extensive report, and I have here a copy of the grant and how it's used. If anybody would like to take a look at it, I'll leave it right here, and that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Kevin?
Okay, I had, trying to slow down here if you're just for Wayne. I said, I'm trying to slow down here just for you.
I even picked on a lot.
I just had one meeting, so it doesn't take me long.
Okay, we had the highway tracking meeting last Tuesday after the board meeting. And that meeting, we got an update on the building progress of the highway shop. We talked about, there's going to be coming forward some replacement trucks, a couple of them. Talked about street signage requests on 15th and 11th. There's, apparently they're going to be moving up the street lights that are going to be on the corner of 15th and 11th here because of the additional traffic from the toll bridge being open. We talked about our engineers going to the national conference. We talked about the Glendon MOU on a project there, similar to what we did when we did the Barnesville Main Street. It's going to be something similar to that. And a little bit of discussion on the campus parking lot projects that are going on here, an update on where they were on those. Then as Grant mentioned, we attended the LEC design meeting, and it's, I agree with Grant. It was quite impressive to see the work that they were doing, and what's good for the public can be assured that these folks are really, really watching this thing closely. And they had some contractors in showing new ideas and new technology, for example, that's out there, and like in evidence rooms and those types of things. And they were very, very good at saying, no, we don't need that, or we don't need this top-of-the-line stuff. We can use these hand crank things and go on. So they were really, really cautious of the taxpayers' dollars. And I really, I think we really want to thank them for that work. And then we actually, I saw for the first time, they actually have some 3D designs of and I'll leave this for you to look at here if you want to, but partial 3D drawings of certain areas of the LEC as they move forward, but they're really, really doing good work. And then there was some additional discussion about site issues, for outside. You even got down to where garbage not incinerators, but garbage recycling bins will be and that type of thing. So they're really, really getting into the technical aspects of everything. So, and it was scheduled to go from 10 to 4, and I know I had to leave at 2 for another commitment, and they were really very thorough, and I just can't thank them enough for that. And then we also, I met with Brian and Commissioner Wayland, met with Senator Eakin, and again, we're trying to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks on this legislative action that needs to happen for the sales tax. So, and we meet with Representative Lean on Thursday for the same purpose. That's all I have.
Okay, Jenny?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week I had the Planning Commission. It was a long meeting. I do want to thank the Planning Commission staff and Tim for their work and getting everything together. There were a variety of issues. The first possible amendments, the development ordinance, we talked about, I think this board was aware by January 1st, changing the threshold for animal units, what would trigger someone needing to come to get a permit. And because we did align our standards with the state, we did talk about it being a 50 animal unit that will then trigger someone to get a permit. And then we talked about the ordinance on regulating placements and docks and lifts on shoreland. that had a lengthy discussion because the DNR was there. Currently, they are the enforcement agency on that. And there were some concerns on what wordage would be, so it was tabled to the next meeting. We approved a permit for property weddings in Kurtz Township. We approved a request for rezoning, a recommendation to this board on some land in Holly Township. And we approved a conditional use permit for a hog facility in Keene Township. And we approved a recommendation to the board on a preliminary plat removal, and then approved a request for that.
Were all those items approved by the township before?
I believe, I can't speak for all of them, but I believe the controversial ones especially had been approved at the township level. In fact, 2 of them had township representatives come to speak and say that there had been no concerns from the township level.
Good.
And that concludes my reports.
Okay. The meetings I had are ones that have already been covered. Highway tracking. In fact, some of the things that we covered we're going to bring up as soon as Dave shows up. We're going to discuss some of that. And personnel issues there again, we discussed some days off issues. Not days off, I guess changing holidays or whatever. The other meeting I went to was the Historical Society. Actually, we finally got we got a good report there, and I mean, I would say finally because all summer long it's been a tough year for them with construction going on, but they got a good donation, a grant was received. It's now their treasury is looking a little bit better and really helped out the program there. They do need 3 new board members, so if anybody knows of someone that's interested in serving on the Historical Society, come forward or talk to Maureen over at the Historical Society. She'd be glad to get your name in there. We also went over the preliminary budget was presented, and like I say, everything was looking favorable for next year. Hopefully a good year next year. That's it for me. Mr. Berg.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Highway tracking has already been discussed. I attended that as well. Mr. Campbell, I don't know that if you mentioned we had some discussion on Holly as well, and we're having a meeting on the 4th of January with Holly in regards to some of the street design.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that.
We
yeah.
touched on that, just on that project. There's a lot of work there that has to be done yet. And Lieutenant Green was here, and I probably should have brought this up when he was here as well, but he and Lieutenant Empting asked to meet with me in regards to the volunteers in the county. They're really having difficulties finding volunteers for first responders and fire departments and things out there. And of course that really reflects on their job as well when they respond to an incident out there where they need jaws of life. I'm thinking of a traffic accident or a farm accident in which they have to remove something heavy equipment, just getting people out there. So they're doing a little brainstorming in regards to what they could do to generate some interest out there. You know, we'd like to think volunteerism is alive and well in this part of the country, and it is where the population is, but you get out in the areas where the population there isn't much population, it's tough to get the numbers as well. So they're concerned about that, which is really positive on the Sheriff's Department standpoint, because they're taking on that responsibility on their own, and that's very good of them. I attended for a short while the law enforcement design meeting that the 2 commissioners talked about, and I think they're making very good progress. And you know, you talk about the commitment of law enforcement to that building. I think it's great, but I think there's even a stronger commitment than that's on the part of this county board to go with 2 projects and push forward for the good of the community, and that takes a lot of guts sometimes to step forward and do that. We 5 have done that. And I think all of law enforcement really appreciates that, and the correctional facility appreciates that too. So the feeling, I think, is certainly mutual in regards to the respect that they have for you in supporting that program. PIC meeting has already been discussed in length, and I think we vetted the options there really well in committee before it went to the committee, and I think that's really been reviewed quite well. Tim and Jenny Smaraja from the county attorney's office and Darren and myself met in regards to a late 15 project on a permit down there that Commissioner Ingersoll had alerted me to earlier on, and we've met now several times, and we hope to have a legal resolution pretty soon that we can discuss with the individuals down there, but it's regards to a site permit, building permit, and then the roads and where the drainage goes, and Buffalo Red is involved in it, and it's kind of a big deal. And I've already mentioned the fact that we met with Senator Eakin on the issue, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Jenny first. Oh.
I just had one comment. I know, looking at our calendar, when we met in August, the beginning of August, with the county municipalities, it was said at that meeting that it would be worthwhile possibly having that every 6 months. That meeting, if we wanted, would probably be the beginning of February, and I just wanted to bring it up here to see if the commission is still interested in possibly doing that. I felt it was a real worthwhile discussion with cities, and just wanted to bring it up.
Well, I'd have to agree with that, you know, and I appreciate when there is a lot of different departments there, and I'd even like to see more departments there. I think our cities need to know what each department can do for them, you know, and then that's why I think you brought it up and I brought it up, that we should have some cities meeting, you know, getting together with the cities. We get together with the townships, but we don't do it with the cities so much, you know, and I just, and I thought it was a good program, and I would like to continue that, but that's up to the board here, I guess, too. But like I say, I would like to see even more of our county people there at the meeting, whether we have to have it during the day or whatever, to accommodate more of our county people, whatever, but I would like to see that, because I think it's important that our cities find out what the county is doing for them, how they're working for them, you know, and, you know, who's here, you know, so they get to know the people, so there's some sort of contact.
Yeah, I based on those communities that were there, they liked it, and we even asked them at the end of that meeting if they'd like to see those continue, and they said yes. The one thing that I would maybe take a slightly different approach, Commissioner Gross, than what you talked about. It's certainly good to have them there, but I really think the focus should be on let them tell us what they think they need, or how we can better help them. I thought that's what the first one was meant to be, that, but I think a lot of them have been around a long time. They do know our services. I think there's some that maybe they, my guess is that some of those probably aren't aware of services that are out there for our veterans and things like that, from our Veteran Service Office, because that doesn't get as much public attention. But I think we should have a meeting. I agree with that. I think we should direct Brian to start working on that.
You know, what I liked about it was the fact, I mean, when I go out to I got 7 cities in my district, and I go out to their meetings, and, you know, a lot of times you get questions, you know, this is happening, and my response is just call the county, you know. It's just, sometimes I think I don't know if they're not afraid to call the county, that's not a good word, I mean, but it's just, you know, they're not aware, they just call the county for assistance, and we have to make them aware that we're here to help, you know, and that's the message I'm trying to bring out with these meetings, is just to show that we're here to help them. So.
Okay.
We could possibly do a 2-tier, have the beginning half be concerns of cities, and then the second tier be how different county departments could help. I think, you know, we could have an agenda that way. But
Well, that's what I did last time. At the end, I really let everybody speak up to tell them what they do in their department. the people that did show up there, you know, and they each got a chance to speak in what they do with their department, so, okay.
Mr. Chair, before you leave that topic, I know Commissioner Mojo just suggested February. However, we will be holding the intergovernmental retreat January 27th, and I know several of the smaller cities do attend that. But I think getting the information out and scheduling the time so that they know this is happening, so that it wasn't forgotten about, is very important. So we're certainly, it'd be nice if we could work with one or two of you in regards to setting a date that would be.
I'll work with you.
Okay.
You know, I don't have a problem.
I think working with Kenny
Okay.
is good enough, that's good. Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of other things too. I comment on, I know you, the PIC committee had addressed a couple of issues that had developed again, and they came out of our spring retreat. And it's something that I think Commissioner Whalen knows. It's come up a few times before, and I think ultimately we need to give a response, make a decision on some of these things as a board. Let them know what the policy is. Either there's going to be changes or they're not. But we have, you know, so far there hasn't been any recommended action coming from any committee yet on that. And I really think we owe it to them to at least answer them. So whatever that may take to bring that before us to give an official answer, I think it's, I mean, they asked for it, and so we should reply. Secondly, I just got a notification. This is just more of a deal, Brian, if I can, because is there a parking meeting today at 3 o'clock in your office?
Yes, Mr. Chair. And
Okay, that is, because I never got confirmation on it before.
Okay, I'm just going by what the email that I received from Georgia, so yeah.
Yeah, that was, we got that this morning. I got that this morning.
Oh, okay. Now that's
Apparently
that
there's one at 2 o'clock too.
over at the Law Enforcement
Yeah.
Center, and that must be in the, I think you had sent out a message to ask them for some comments on it, so they must decided to meet at 2 today, and then we were going to meet today at 3 in regards to the whole campus parking issue.
Or maybe I'll just jump into both of them. then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before we go on, we got an extra sheet here, agenda item number 5. Did everybody get that, or did I have that from last week or something, or?
Yeah, no, not
No,
familiar,
no.
Mr. Chair.
Or was I probably just supposed to sign this? I don't know, just hoping I didn't overlook that one. All right. We'll move on to Dave then. You didn't get that one, did you? We're looking at a memorandum of understanding for the shared landfill and highway garage, and also approval to sell the Holland Motor Grader Shop.
Morning.
Morning, Dave.
Yeah, both items are related to the work that we've been doing cooperatively with Solid Waste Department. We put together a MOU that would describe a little bit on how things are paid, some of the duties that are to be handled as we operate, some operation and maintenance type language, as well as just kind of describe general ownership of the building. We just looked at space. You know, the largest space obviously is the garage space, and then there's a little bit of office space, and there's one room that's a electronic storage room that the landfill needs out there. So it pretty much turned out exactly 60-40 like we originally thought. We did work with our county attorney's office a little bit, as well as with Mr. Berg, our county administrator, on this, and I think it turned out really well, I guess. Kirk had several opportunities to take a look at it, make a few comments, and I guess I can't remember if we ran this, I think we ran it through a highway committee last week as well. So. And I guess we look at it as it could be a living document. If anything changes, we certainly change the percentages or anything that we missed. But anyway, it's a first good start at kind of an interdepartmental MOU.
I'll move to approve the MOU.
I'll second it, the comment that, solid waste agreed with those percentages, right?
Oh, yep, absolutely.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes. Yes.
I just have a question quick before we move on to the second item. This summer, when there was discussion with, I think, residents on moving the highway location, have you noticed any deadhead issues that with service coverage that?
I guess,
the concern, you heard the same concern.
absolutely, yeah.
so-
It was, I think it was Eglin Township, and they were a little worried that we wouldn't have as much response time getting out to the far eastern part of the county. And, we really haven't had an awful lot of snow yet, but I still don't think I have not noticed that problem, and I don't think we're going to notice a problem either. But we'll definitely keep that in mind, though, to see if there, my initial response was I thought we'd have a little better response time being out there. They are going to change the districts instead of being more north and south, they're going to be a little bit east and west down there. So it should help the Rolog and Tansum areas a lot, as well as I don't think there should be any change really in the area right along Highway 10.
Right. I know that one comment that was made was that if there really was a large increase in response time, we would evaluate that. And so I just
Absolutely.
want that to continually
Sure.
be part of the discussion.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to the Hawley Motor Grader Shop.
Yeah, we should be able to take occupancy of the new building this week. We did, as you all know, have an offer and a set purchase, we are gonna sell the Rolog shop. That's already been done. We should have a closing on that sometime in the month of January. We would like to get permission to sell the Holly shop as well. Holly shop is a little more involved because it does have the snowplow for the Uland district, so we felt that we had to wait until we were into the new building before we would sell this one. Initially, we were working with the Rural Fire Department group out in the city of Holly, but they have recently decided they're gonna go in a different direction rather than purchase our building, so we would like to put it up for sale the exact same way that we did with the roll-on shop.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
I don't know if anybody was out much around this weekend or not, but I know Brian had guys out on Saturday and yesterday as well, trying to scrape on the ice before it froze down, and had all the guys on call just in case if they were available. And
There's a lot of ice out there, so it's
Yeah.
gonna take a lot to get it down. I do, from coming in this morning, did notice that we're salting and sanding, every 50 feet, and I do wanna comment that that's almost more dangerous, I think, because when you're on the salt and sand, everything's fine, and then you get that 50-foot patch where it's, the half inch of ice again, it's pretty slick, so.
hopefully they can burn it. It'll burn off a little bit with the sunlight, and they can scrape it off a little bit, but I'll share that with Brian.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Mr. Chairman, I did find an Agenda 5 thing that it looks
I
like,
know how to do it. It shows that
looks like they want some action on this. There was a thing in front of me this morning, and
I don't know if I'm just supposed to sign that or what. That's why I asked Kathy if she had something else there.
because it looks like it was supposed to be added when Kathy was here, because hers was Agenda 5 item.
Is it supposed to be consent agenda 5? Because there's only 4 items on
I think
consent
that was it.
agenda.
Oh,
part of the consent agenda, yes.
okay, well, it didn't say
Says
consent on it, so.
Okay, threw me off there. That's what I said. I had that other item there.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, I will move consent agenda item number 5.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any further reports from anybody? Wayne, you want to make some final statements?
Everything's fine, thank you.
Everything's fine. Thank you so much for your 8 years of service to the county. Appreciate that.
Right.
And for me, for the last official time, we're adjourned. Never did that all year.
No,